Welcome back to another episode of Light Beer, Dark Money. I'm Sean Noble.
And I am Chris Clements.
And I am in shock.
You're in shock?
So, my wife is driving my car. As our listeners, most of our listeners will know, we are a 2 Tesla car family.
That's a lot of electricity.
It's a lot of electricity. We have solar. We bought a house that has solar on it.
Okay. How much does that get kicked back to the grid?
Well, as little as I can possibly imagine, because they only give us 2 cents per kilowatt hour.
Yeah, it's not that much.
Yeah, but, we pay 21 cents per kilowatt hour during peak time. So I try to give as little back as possible.
Okay, good.
And I haven't completely figured out the best way to manage that, but the last few days, my give back has been small.
Okay.
So I've been happy about that. But I am today driving my old Escalade that my kids have been driving.
Your old Escalade.
Yeah, so before I bought my Tesla,
Before you became
before I bought my Tesla a couple years ago.
Muskrat.
A muskrat. I was driving 2000.
You were like the rest of us.
Yeah, I was driving a
2007
gas guzzling Escalade. And
those were tanks.
Yeah, my kids have been driving it, but somehow, and I don't know exactly how, it's ended up back at my house. And my wife needed to use my car because the babysitter is using her car, taking Vin to the museum or something today. So I had my Escalade.
Yeah.
And I got in it to go work out at Body. We had Nikki Metzger on the show a couple weeks ago. Went and got my butt kicked by one of her trainers, Sky, one of our favorites. And got in the car and was like, holy crap, I'm out of gas. I didn't even think about it. The kids brought the car back, parked it in my parkway or my driveway. I'm still not certain why, but it's out of gas. So,
and your first question is, where's the gas station?
Well,
I know there's one here somewhere.
I wasn't really sure how much gas was left in there because it just said fuel level low, and it's below the last 50 or 40 miles. Well, the light's on, but it also has the thing because it'll show you like 60 miles, 70, but but in that car, it gets to a certain level where it doesn't show you miles anymore. It just says fuel level low. So it's like, get to a gas station. So I went to Chevron, which is where I usually go. I put in my little Safeway code to get the discount. I got 30 cents off per gallon.
Okay.
It still cost $133.
Did you go to the Chevron over there on 44th?
44th and Indian School.
Yeah. So that's one of the most expensive places to
is
get
it?
gas. Oh, yeah. Completely.
Well, tell me that now.
Quick Trip.
Quick Trip.
Telling you, Quick Trip.
Yeah, QT, that's right.
If you can find a QT, that's probably one of the cheapest. I mean,
even with would it have been cheaper than even with my 30 cent per gallon discount?
But you get the 30, you get that on top of what they've already, most likely.
Wow.
I mean, that's just based on observation, but I've got 2 gas guzzlers, so I'm always watching
Yeah, I mean,
this.
you would know. Yeah,
and especially in Phoenix. And one of the reasons that people don't understand why Phoenix gas is so expensive is we get all of our gas from where?
Texas.
California.
Oh, we do? California?
Tucson gets it all from Texas. They're about $1 cheaper down in Tucson because of it. And all the taxes that we have here to build our lovely, beautiful roads and freeways.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason.
Well, I've never been happier to be a Tesla owner than when I looked up after my tank went off. I looked up and I was like, what? Because I had been, I was wiping off the windows with the little wiper thing. I haven't done that for years, since I haven't been at a gas station for years.
Yeah.
So,
but you're bringing up a more important public policy issue, and that is the fact that this administration, the Biden administration, has totally tried to destroy domestic, both natural gas and petroleum production. In favor of pushing people towards electric cars for a grid that doesn't exist.
Well, and for a grid that doesn't exist, and for, they're still out of reach of the typical average American. I mean, now all cars are getting expensive. I read something. There's no such thing as a $20,000 car.
Oh no,
anymore.
it's
even
nuts.
used cars are more than $20,000. If it's
although inventories are increasing, and that could put a drag on prices finally.
Oh, okay.
Because finally inventories are catching up with demand, and so there's a lag. After 3 years of you can't get a car under 50.
Yeah. The thing that's, I was thinking about this as I was driving, because I was driving this Escalade. I was like, this thing is, I wasn't super happy with it. But I realized the thing is 15 years old.
Well, those Escalades, 2007, you said?
So 2007?
Yeah, those are tanks. I mean, they're not smooth riders.
No.
Those were really the Yukon Denali XL conversions, weren't they? 2007s. Just Cadillac decided, we need something.
I guess. I mean, yeah, it's not super. It's like a Tahoe length.
Yeah.
It's not the Suburban length.
It's not the Suburban. See, we've got the Suburban length. Yeah, and that thing is not. It actually is probably better on gas, those new engines, than in the past.
Well, I'm
and
sure
it rides,
it's better than
and it rides really well. And
yeah,
I like having the 6-liter, quite frankly, and then my AT4's big gas guzzler.
Yeah. So anyway, I couldn't believe. I looked up and it was $133. I was like, wow, that is crazy. That's so
expensive.
Much money.
I've been getting
money.
under 100 and maybe a little over 100 on most of the vehicles.
You put premium in?
No.
Oh.
No, I think
so. Maybe I should have put premium in.
That's a waste of money.
Is it?
It
For
really is.
Really for the Escalade?
It really is.
Huh. I thought they said I had to put premium.
Yeah, I think it's really a waste of money. I mean, you should do it every once in a while for sure, but you don't have to do it all the time.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing my kids probably don't. So
now they're saying that gas prices are going to be heading down this summer, which is odd because it's summer. And
I don't believe it.
Yeah. But we're entering into an election year, and so you got to think that the Biden administration
they're going to try to bring the gas prices down next summer.
Do something
next summer, not this summer.
Did you hear? It's an election year now.
Oh, yeah. There was an announcement.
There was an announcement yesterday, a big one, by this guy down in Florida.
Who might that be?
Well, Trump calls him Governor DeSanctimonious.
Well, it could be who somebody was making a joke yesterday. It could be. Oh, no! There was the failure to launch because he announced it on Twitter.
Yeah, because of the Twitter, they had like 700,000 people tried to get into this space.
Yeah,
Twitter Spaces. Right?
Spaces, right?
I heard some commentary, but in the mainstream media about what is Twitter Spaces? What is this all about? Is this for real or anything else? Because DeSantis was eschewing.
Well, did you see
traditional media?
Did you see the Vanity Fair headline?
I heard about it. I did not see it.
DeSantis announces with Elon Musk because David Duke was not available.
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
It's ridiculous.
It's unbelievable. I mean, look, I'm not. We all know I'm not a big, huge Trump fan. I like DeSantis. I frankly, Tim Scott is my favorite right now.
Why?
Because he's got a message of hope. He's the most Reagan-esque.
You think?
I do.
I listened to his speech the other day, and I thought it missed the mark, but I listened to it. I didn't watch it. And I mean, I think he's got a tremendous personal, story, which is great.
Yeah.
But maybe you can answer this question that a lot of people are asking. He's 57 years old. He's never been married.
Who cares?
A lot of people care.
Well, which I find crazy. I find that insane.
Okay, well, I care.
Why?
Because I think it's important. I think it's absolutely important for a presidential candidate to understand the assault that families are under right now.
He's an awake adult human being.
I understand that.
He can see these things.
But 57 years old, never been married.
So what?
You don't find that odd?
No. He did. Look, as someone who has found the love of their life on the second try, I'm all for. If it doesn't work, don't do it.
Okay, but 57 years old.
So he hasn't found the right person.
Or does he even care, or is he even looking? At least be honest about it.
Has anyone...
He's being very coy about it, and I don't appreciate...
How's he being coy?
He's like, well, maybe the right woman will come along. I'm like, well, do you want to get married or not? Or
well,
you're 57.
Look,
you have no children.
Based on the background that he went through, I could see him saying, you know what? I'm going to wait for the exact right person. And he hasn't found her or him. Who cares? It yet. So
So you said him. Do you think that's an issue?
No. And so if it is, so who cares? I mean,
well, there's a huge swath of the electorate that do care, and he's not going to get elected if he's not forthcoming about it.
I think that so they may think they care. Yeah. Okay, let me put it that way. They may care, but if he's the nominee, and the choice is him and Joe Biden, those cares go away.
Oh, I agree with you.
Those cares go away.
I agree with you, but you're going to be in a primary season where it's going to be an issue.
I mean,
it's going to be an issue in Iowa. It's going to be maybe not so much New Hampshire, but
it could be an issue in Iowa, but I don't think it's an issue in New Hampshire. And I think he's got to have the upper hand in South Carolina. I mean, he's got $21 million in his presidential account. He transferred it over from his Senate account, and he has some benefactors on the outside willing to put in really, really big money. Yeah. So he is going to be, from a money standpoint, he's going to be a contender.
I have total respect for him as a senator. I think he's been a great senator. I think he's been a better senator than his counterpart in South Carolina. That's for sure. Who's just, don't get me started.
Who's older than 57 and also not married.
Yes. Yeah, but he's not running for president this time around.
Well, he has.
I know, it was an issue then.
Did people say he was disqualified for that reason? I don't think so.
There are a lot of people who said that Lindsey Graham was disqualified for that reason.
This is racism.
This is racism?
This is racism.
It's not racism.
If he were a white man, 57 years old, not married, you wouldn't say anything about it.
No, I think it would be the same issue. For me, it would be the same issue. I'd be like, wait a second. This doesn't make any sense.
Hopefully, if you're not listening, you can see the smile on my face. Or you're not watching, you can see the smile on my face.
We're bantering and we're having fun.
I'm giving Chris serious shit.
Yeah. So. But DeSantis is married, and he's got a tremendous story.
Who cares?
And he's got a great... I want to get to the value of DeSantis. He listed off all his accomplishments on the document that they released, and it's really tremendous from a conservative standpoint what he's accomplished.
I will say he has one major accomplishment. Literally the only accomplishment that has made him competitive at this point.
What is that?
Marrying Casey.
Well,
because if it weren't for her, he would not have gotten elected to Congress. If he had not been elected to Congress, there's no way he'd have been governor. And so,
are you saying because he's personally just inactive?
He's not what you would call the most charismatic.
No.
When he ran for Congress the first time, his wife was a popular TV personality, and she was the one who was known. And so she had a lot to do with his, winning that original primary in a very safe district.
And yet Politico this last week tried to portray her as Lady Macbeth.
Oh, big deal. I mean, of course they are, because
it's just so disgusting. I'm bringing it up because it's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
And they're portraying her that way because she is strong. She does have her own opinion. She's raising these kids. She's a cancer survivor.
Right.
And she's beautiful. She's photogenic. She's, she very much is in support of her husband and helps him in formulating campaign strategy and all those things. If she were a Democrat and doing all these things, she'd be put up for sainthood.
Well, like they are for Jill Biden,
who isn't even a doctor.
Right. Well, okay.
But you have to call her Dr. Jill.
The point is that you're right, that there is a double standard when it comes to the wife of a Democrat and the wife of a Republican.
Yeah, it's too bad.
It's absurd.
It's absolutely absurd.
Speaking of news personalities,
yeah,
Kari Lake lost her latest round in court, and I think this is it. I think, or maybe she's going to appeal to the Supreme Court.
She said that she's going to appeal yet again.
And actually, I've been
meaning
to talk to...
Which just means that she's raising more money, like we said last week.
Right. And I've been meaning to talk to a friend of mine. There's a woman, Rachel Alexander, who has she's a writer for... can't remember the name of the publication. But anyway, she's been following this. She's an attorney by training. And more conservative than... more MAGA than I am. I shouldn't say more conservative because just a different kind of conservative than I am. But she's been following this stuff very, very closely. So maybe we should have her on.
You should.
talk about this. So,
what do you think is next? I mean, so I heard with this whole Trump DeSantis thing that she's not so much jockeying to win this or even jockeying for the Senate, like we said in the last podcast. She really wants to be Trump's vice presidential.
It's not going to happen.
But that's really what she wants.
Probably, but it's not going to happen.
She's out there defending him. And I heard her take some shots at DeSantis in some interview yesterday, which makes no sense to me. DeSantis came and campaigned for her.
Well, look, she is.
And I'm like, wait.
It does make sense because of what you said, she wants to be the vice presidential pick. I don't think that's going to happen because Trump's not going to pick somebody who potentially could overshadow him. She's more articulate than he is. She's more attractive than he is. She's probably just as popular.
Yeah.
With that segment of the voters. She's got, she now has a national following. So, it's risky for him given his personality. But I think she'll run for the Senate. I mean, she had this press conference.
I think she's
with this
much
major
more appealing than even Nikki Haley, though, in some ways.
For vice president.
Yeah.
To the general election?
Yeah, I think just.
I don't think so. I mean, because keep in mind that you pick your vice presidential pick typically is someone who helps broaden the tent, right? Broaden the scope of what you're attracting. So when Reagan won the primary in 1980, he needed to, reach out to the moderate Republicans because he was the right winger, and so he picked Bush.
Yeah.
Bush Jr., not exactly sure. I think he just wanted to show that he had somebody that was super competent because the ding on George W. was that, is he smart enough to be president? Well, you put Dick Cheney there, the guy who had all the experience in the world. That shuts that down.
Well, there were a lot of issues.
Obama picked Biden because Biden had foreign policy chops, and that was the hit on Obama. So what does Kari Lake give Trump that he doesn't already have? I mean, at least Nikki Haley's got a broader, she doesn't have. I don't know anybody who would say, well, I'm not going to vote for Trump. And then Kari Lake gets now I'm going to vote for Trump because Kari Lake's the vice president. What? No. They're indistinguishable. Did I say that right? Indistinguishable?
Yeah. I just think it gives him more spin and traction. I think Nikki Haley, who's being voiced the same way, just doesn't move the needle for people. Doesn't get people excited.
A woman of color.
I'm saying,
talking about think about it from the general election standpoint. You don't think that Kari Lake would have more appeal to suburban women than Nikki Haley?
Does she have the appeal to suburban women? That's a yes and no question. It just depends. I think even in his mind, he thinks it might give him just more excitement around the campaign. I think Nikki Haley doesn't add excitement around the campaign.
What about Tim Scott?
I think Tim Scott would be a great pick. Not sure if he would ever do that though, because Tim Scott's super smart
and Trump's a racist.
I don't know. I wouldn't go there.
No, I don't think Trump. I think Trump would pick Tim Scott if he thought it was the best.
Yeah,
call.
I think. I don't know who he'll pick. It won't be DeSantis, that's for sure, because this is going to be a bloodbath.
He wants to destroy DeSantis. He doesn't want to just keep him from winning the presidential nomination. He wants to kill him politically.
Yeah, do you really feel that he sees this as disloyalty, or is it just a game to him?
I don't know. I think he
because he tweeted that out the other day, or Truth Social did that.
He takes things very personally, too personally.
Yeah. Well, that's true for everything. I mean, that's why we endured 4 years of just chaos.
Insanity.
Went from one thing to the other. I mean, even with, the Durham report that was released a couple weeks ago, basically indicting half the Obama administration, the FBI and the Justice Department and the CIA and everybody. My first reaction was Trump deserves to give Bill Barr a phone call, give him an apology and say thank you for basically saving my presidency.
Yeah.
Because this thing was going to continue to go on and on and on because Jeff Sessions wasn't going to do anything because Jeff was weak. And Bill Barr got in there, pulled in Robert Mueller and said, what do you got? Oh, you have nothing? Okay, I'm shutting it down.
Right.
That's basically what he did. And then the Democrats lost their mind, but they had no comeback because they knew that there was nothing there.
There was nothing.
That they were just parroting a big nothing. And then he torpedoed Barr after, before the whole January 6th fiasco, asked for his resignation, which he had no business doing. And that's the Trump that just goes after people who thinks are being disloyal.
Right.
Which was nothing of the case. In fact, Bill Barr was always telling him the truth.
Exactly.
Always telling him the truth. He just didn't want to hear it. I wonder if he'll be able to hear the truth when his poll numbers are at 30%.
No.
Because they're gonna go there. I think DeSantis is gonna rise, and I think there's gonna be an open battle for the presidency. We've got a year.
Well,
and it's going to be
the thing
really
that people need to continue to remember is that this is a state by state contest. This is not a national Republican Party primary. So these national polls are meaningless. They're meaningless. What matters is what the Republican voters in Iowa, the Republican voters in New Hampshire, and the Republican voters in South Carolina. Those are the first three, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those are the most, and then Super Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's when
anything can happen.
When pundits, cite the national polling, you just have to ignore it. It really matters what's going on in the states and in the battleground states especially.
Yeah.
So Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Georgia, Pennsylvania, probably to a certain extent.
It's going to be a long year.
It is going to be a long year.
It's going to be a long year.
But we're going to have a lot of fun discussing it.
Will we?
I think so.
Sometimes I just I don't want to talk about this anymore. It's so depressing. But no, you're right.
Depressing.
I mean, we've got it.
It's what we do.
It's what we do.
It's what we do.
It's what we do.
Well, we have Memorial Weekend coming up.
Yes.
And you know what Memorial Weekend is really known for? Lots of beer drinking.
Well,
lots of beer. And you know what people aren't drinking?
Well, apparently they're not drinking Bud Light.
They're not drinking Bud Light right now.
So what is the latest on the Bud Light numbers?
This just showed up in my inbox last night. I'm just kind of digesting it. This is from my good friend Ben Steinman of Beer Marketers Insights. He puts out this bi-weekly or weekly sheet of stats, figures, what's going on in the industry. And here's the headline. How does AB get out of the hole it's in? Series of setbacks, big spending coming. Leading up to Memorial Day, Bud Light and total AB sales are still in an unprecedented deep hole. It's so far proving difficult to dig out. And here's the other subheadline. Bud Light's volume and share still plummeting. Bud Light brand dropped 27.4% for 4 weeks through May 13th, the Nielsen IRI data, including a 28% drop nationally in the latest week.
Wow.
That is unbelievable. And there's another quote here from Bump Williams who says that we believe there's a subset of American consumers who will not drink a Bud Light for the foreseeable future.
That is amazing.
And that doesn't even go into how the wholesalers are failing, which I've said from the beginning as a former wholesaler. My heart goes out to my brothers and sisters out there because it's just.
Well, and I did read horrible. that AB has told wholesalers that they'll buy back the expired.
How much are they going to buy back? I mean, you go to there's literally Bud Light dying on the shelves. They have a $15 QR coupon out there. Yeah, a $15 QR code in most of the country. They've got free 20 packs in Wisconsin and 99-cent suitcases in Illinois.
Oh,
they're just giving it away. And then that's just it's the whole boycott of this and the reasons for it is steamrolling. You're seeing it now with Target. You might see it with Starbucks next month.
What's going on with Starbucks?
Well, I mean, they typically will embrace the woke agenda for the month of June.
Oh,
and you got people talking about boycotting Starbucks. You have a boycott brewing against our favorite baseball team, the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not super happy with what's going on with the Dodgers on that. Kind of a dumb move on their part.
Well, they rescinded the offer to the Sisters of Perpetual Craziness, and then
they gave it back.
They gave it back, and they're going to honor them on the field, and it's just a big middle finger to Catholics in Los Angeles, to Catholics worldwide, who we deeply respect, as a new Catholic, and someone who comes from Catholic heritage. It's just unbelievable.
What's astounding to me is that the Dodgers have miscalculated in my mind, because
it's kind of like how Bud Light did.
Yeah,
they miscalculated.
They're in LA, very liberal city. You know, it's the center of the cultural universe. But if you go take in a game at Dodger Stadium, I mean, it is 80% Hispanic.
Oh, completely.
And it's
there are
working
5 million Catholics in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
alone.
I mean, it is
the largest Catholic diocese in the nation.
Yeah,
and they were pleaded by our good friend who was on this podcast,
yeah,
Brian Birch. Catholic Vote, do not do this. Please do not. This is an insult to Catholics worldwide. The Dodgers said, you're right. We're rescinding the offer. This is a bridge too far. And then the woke mafia,
went crazy.
The alphabet mafia, as Jason Whitlock likes to call them, went nuts, and they folded. They caved.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
It's insane. And now Catholic Vote and Brian Birch is leading a boycott of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I don't know how far that will go, because Dodger fans are so loyal. They sort of hold their nose and say, okay, well, whatever. I won't be at Dodger Stadium on June 16th.
Yeah. But
I'm going for Father's Day.
I don't think it's going to have an impact on necessarily on ticket sales. I think the impact really is just going to be a bunch of people saying, yeah, what are they doing? It's just going to be questioning them. And it may have some impact on the bottom line. I don't know. Well, probably not to the same extent. There's the problem for Bud Light was that it's too easy. There's no Bud Light partisans, right? I mean, you can like Bud Light. Bud Light can be your favorite beer, but beers are beers, right? I mean, there's not that much difference between a Bud and a Miller, as far as I know.
Whereas in the past, those have been fighting words.
Well, maybe, but there's
a lot
big
of people,
difference
they
between
would be fighting words.
The Dodgers and the Giants. I mean, it's not like somebody who say, I'm not watching the Dodgers, I'm going to start watching the Giants. That's not going to happen.
There are choices. In the beer world, there's a plethora of places to go with your spending and your taste profile. And if you need a session beer, you can figure that out probably. The problem with what I've maintained from the beginning is that the problem with Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light is not so much the Dylan Mulvaney thing. It's endemic in the culture there. And the culture of that company, which we talked about with Tony Ponturo last week, has been, we know best. Our wholesalers don't know best. The consumers don't know best. We know best because we're sitting in our cubicle in New York City with our whole marketing team, figuring out what's best for the consumer, what's best for our wholesalers. And guess what? This bit them in the ass because of it.
Yeah.
Turns out you don't know best.
They don't know best
because you're stuck in New York City in your little world, in your little bubble, and you won't go out to St. Louis, and you won't go out to Arizona and go to a dive bar and see what people are talking about, because those are your customers.
Right.
And if you don't want to recognize those are your customers, if you just think that people in the clubs and the high-end bars of New York are your customers, or that's the only customers you want, great. If that's true, then you're going to endure 30-40%.
You're going to have a shrinkage. You're going to have shrinkage.
And that's basically by partnering with the Dylan Mulvaney and whomever else in that vein. That's basically what they said to their core customers.
Yeah. Well, that will be interesting.
So we'll see if they can try to get it back. They're going to be spending tons of money on marketing, which they haven't done since they bought the company. And that's been the biggest knock on the Brazilians. That great M&A people, horrible marketers. They don't spend money on marketing. Whereas the former company, as we learned last week, is tremendous marketers.
Right. Well, that will be something to watch for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I
don't think a camo can is going to win Bud Light drinkers back.
No.
You know.
No, it kind of insults their intelligence, right?
Yeah. So.
I mean, who wants to drink out of a camo can?
Yeah.
Weird. Well, I don't know.
But to our fighting men and women across the fruited plain, across the world, we wish you a happy Memorial Day.
Yes.
Appreciate your service. Appreciate your contributions to the country, despite all the woke craziness going on in the military as well.
Right. And
that you have to endure.
You know, if you haven't had a chance to listen to the podcast from a couple weeks ago, when Alyssa was my guest, we talked about our trip to Europe, but tail end was a discussion about D-Day, and we went and visited the beach, Omaha Beach and Pointe du Hoc. And if you want to hear me cry, then you can listen to that episode.
It was a great episode. It was touching to hear you get emotional like that.
I didn't expect that. I read Reagan's speech a couple times earlier that day to not have that happen, but to no avail. It was still moving. So
like Alyssa said, you know, Peggy Newton really nailed it. Right?
Yeah, she did. She
did a great job.
So yes, thank you to all of those that have served, and obviously we'll be remembering those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, so that we can do what we do. I mean, that's the thing, is that people. I really fear that there's so much of our society today that doesn't recognize that the stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis, especially on social media, would not be possible but for what sacrifice these guys made.
Yeah, and the arguments we have, and what we want to preserve.
I mean, you think about the stuff that China does on social media, what you can't do.
Yeah.
I mean, freedom of speech is really important, especially speech that we don't appreciate and we don't like and makes us mad, because if you start censoring, then it's a slippery slope.
Well, I've always said that I might not like what you say, but I'll defend your right to say it.
Yeah.
And that's the essence of the First Amendment.
Right.
That's why we fight for what we fight for. That's why we have this podcast, because we're a podcast based on faith, freedom, free enterprise.
That is correct.
The founding principles of our great country.
That is right.
So, well, everyone have a great weekend. God bless.
We'll be back next week.
We will be back next week for another exciting edition.
There you go.
Dark Money.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.